Hi everyone, my name is Carissa Connolly. I myself am a mom to two amazing kiddos. I am a mama coach who helps make parenthood just a little bit easier. I've also been a pediatric nurse for a long time. So today we are actually going to be talking about choking. Now, choking, the reason why we're talking about that is it's actually the third most common cause of accidental death in North America. That is crazy. And so the reason why it's such a big issue in children is because their airways are so small. So you're gonna hold up your pinky. It's not that big. That's actually the size of a child's airway. Or you can look at it like these straws. So I got the small straw. This is actually similar size to an airway to an infant. Now, this one, a little bit bigger, like a smoothie straw. It's the size of a toddler. However, it's still quite small. A lot could still block that from getting air through. And so, because their airways are so tiny and they don't actually grow that much bigger until they reach puberty, kind of preteen, teenage years, it's quite a big issue. So, what are ways that we can prevent it from happening? So one thing is, let's look at the causes. So one of the leading causes is food. So round foods, you got your grapes, you got your blueberries, you got your cherries, all those yummy things that we love to snack on. Or how about your hot dogs or your popcorn seeds? Now, obviously, two very different shapes, different sizes. However, if you think of those airway sizes, it doesn't take much. So what can we do about those things? Well, with the round things like your grapes and your cherries and your blueberries, you can cut them in half. Now remember, when we cut them in half, you want to cut them vertically. If you cut them horizontally, it actually can just block that airway way too easily. And think of those hot dogs. You also want to cut them vertically. And if it's a really large hot dog, since that airway is really small, sometimes you're going to also want to do it in quarters. It also lays in your hot dog bun, so much easier. Now, the other causes are just regular things that you're going to have in your house, especially if you have older kids. So let's think about the Lego, or marbles, or coins, or any tiny toys that you would have in your house. Any of those could be choking hazards. Or at all the parks, they love to have all the rocks at the parks now, and those are super common choking hazards. So obviously we can't remove all the rocks from the parks, but we can look at our households and think, what can we move away from those little ones to help prevent choking? Now, another thing to think about that actually gets forgotten a lot of the time is having a safe place to eat. So this obviously is an easy thing to do when kiddos first start eating, because they're going to be sitting in their high chair. And so that is their safe spot to eat, meaning if there is food in the mouth, they are at that safe spot to eat. Now, as they get older and they start running around, this gets a little trickier. And so let's think about when you're at the park. You're going to be sitting at your picnic table. That is your safe spot to eat. And the more you repeat it to the children, it will sink in, at least a little bit, that that is the safe spot. No running while there's food in your mouth. Once that mouth is empty, then you can go play and go slide down that slide. Sometimes even with the best prevention, accidents can still happen. And I know they can be scary, and that's why we're reviewing this today, so that you will know what steps to take and you can feel a little bit more prepared if the worst should happen. So first I want to talk about what's the difference between gagging and choking. So if that child had a grape that was maybe just a little too big, they didn't chew it well enough, and they start coughing, they start sputtering. Now they are still moving air, so air is still getting past that little piece of fruit that's in there. So that would be considered gagging. Now as an adult, you're going to still stand next to that child. You're going to support them. You're going to encourage them to keep coughing. as they may be able to clear it on their own, and we don't even need to worry about the next step with choking. Now, if that kiddo does stop coughing and their face may turn a little red, and usually they look quite scared, that then is choking. So I'm going to first talk about infants. So infants would be anyone under the age of 1 or where they're not able to stand on their own and be steady on their feet. If you're by yourself, call 911 on speakerphone so you can focus on your life-saving technique. I'm going to demonstrate with my cute little doll over here. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this baby is going to be nice and supported. So let's say that this little one's sitting in her high chair and we just gave her some nice soft carrots and she was munching away, but she maybe didn't do quite so good of a job of munching. And she started coughing and then she stopped and looked a little scared. You're going to pull that baby out of the high chair right away. And what you're going to do first is you're actually going to put your thumb and your forefinger, you're going to support their head. You're going to lie their body on your forearm here, and you're going to flip them over. Now, obviously, I'm sitting right now. You might not be. So to support your forearm as you're doing this, you might even want to just drop down to one knee, just so that you can support your arm while you're doing this. So once again, you're going to support that baby's head, thumb, and forefinger. You're going to rest that baby's body on your forearm and you're going to flip them down over your knee to support it. Then, with the heel of your hand between the baby's shoulder blades, you are going to start doing 5 back blows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, I kind of did a motion like this, and that helps push the air up from underneath that piece of food or object, whatever is blocking that airway. We're essentially mimicking a cough. So we are pushing that air up to unblock that airway. Now, once you've done your 5 back blows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're then going to support that head. You're going to flip them over. You're supporting this head. It's held in your hand. Now you're going to do 5 chest compressions. Now, because they're so little, you're just going to use your 2 fingers, okay? And in between their nipples or their armpits, just right across here, center of their chest, you're going to push down 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you're going to keep doing that. You're going to keep going back and forth. 5 back blows, switch, 5 chest compressions. You're going to keep going until that airway is clear. That baby might start sputtering. That baby may start puking, unfortunately, but that airway will be clear. Now, if at any point, especially when they're on their back and you're doing the chest compressions, you want to look in their mouth. Do you see anything? Do you see, have they cleared the blockage? Now, if you visibly see it, it's right there. Go ahead and grab it. But if you can't see it, do not put your finger in your mouth. It's called a blind sweep. And unfortunately, you could push that food further into the airway. We don't want that to happen. Now, we're going to move on to the bigger kids. So once they're actually able to stand up and steady on their own, it changes a little bit on how you actually treat them. Now, if you have a kiddo that is already walking or standing on their own, or obviously a little bit older, you're not going to be using that technique. You're going to be using abdominal thrusts or the Heimlich maneuver, which most people have heard of. If you're by yourself or if you haven't done so already, call 911. Or if you have someone else nearby, get them to call 911 and start this procedure immediately. So I'm going to get my special helper to help me with this one. So with the abdominal thrust, the key is actually landmarking. So what you're going to want to do is you're actually going to go between the belly button and the ribs. There's a nice soft area there. That's where you're going to want to be doing your abdominal thrust. Now, if we were sitting at a table, me sitting on the chair, this is a good height to get to that on my special helper. However, if you're at a park or you're out anywhere else, the best thing to do is to actually get right up behind the kiddo who needs your help. So you're going to get up behind them. I'm going to kneel behind her. I'm going to move my arms in through, and I'm going to bring her out close to really help stabilize. Now, with your hands, you're going to do a fist, and then with your other hand, you grip it. So put my hands through. I'm going to find that spot between the belly button and the ribs. Fist, hand over top, and J motions. So you scoop up and you keep going until that airway is cleared or until help arrives. Keep going, keep going. Now we're really hoping that it's only going to take a few tries of that and that airway gets cleared right away and you've just saved a life. Thank you so much, helper.